Once again to Joe the Shirts Off the Cuff. I am your host. I am Joe the Shirt. This is my show, Off the Cuff. Sorry it's been so long, and I'm also sorry that it's even when I do go on the air, it's not as often as I'd like. You know, I really wish I could make myself do this more often. Some weeks I'll sometimes do 2 or 3 shows in a day, and other weeks I just cannot bring myself to find the energy. I'm sure you are all familiar with that, those of you who are already giving up on your New Year's resolution to work out more and eat right. Now, eating right, that is one of the topics we'll be discussing today. But before we get to that, I want to discuss a little experiment and a welcoming of Facebook friends. But normally, I've never been one to just randomly ask people on Facebook, you know, to be friends, send friend requests to everybody. You know, I always thought to myself, you know what? I want to be friends with people I actually know. I want to be able to communicate and let people know about what's going on in my life that I actually have some vested interest in, you know, i.e. real friends. And that is no way to develop a Facebook following. Let me tell you that, my friends. As of, let's see, this morning, I had 107 Facebook friends, you know, which pales in comparison to the over 700 that my little sister has on her page. I'm quite certain that with all the raves my sister has gone to in her life, she probably knows well over 700, or at least she's met 700 people in her time, but I am not one of those people that goes around to raves anymore. But she does, you know, and so she has a lot of Facebook friends, and a lot of you I've noticed have, you know, hundreds, thousands of Facebook friends, and really good for you, that's fine, I have no problems with that whatsoever. But this morning I decided to try a little experiment. Excuse me, I need to have a beer here. And I looked on a little bar there on the Facebook page that lets me know people that I have at least one friend connection with on Facebook. And there was like hundreds of people there. And then of course there were the ones that had no connections to, and most likely just hookers. I didn't delete them, but I also didn't ask them if they wanted to be my friend either. So I needed to narrow it down. So I narrowed it down to people who had at least 2 Facebook friends in common with me. At least 2. You know, that means that, you know, I've connected with that person and other of their friends on some level, in some way, somehow, even though I may have never met them. Much like anybody listening to this, there's a really good chance you've never met me either. But I did this, and that was, let me see, I'd say about 7 o'clock this morning. I had 107 friends on Facebook. As of, let's see, it's 11:15 now, just about. As of 11:15, that number jumped up to 140. So, in the span of just a few hours, I gained like, what is it, like 30 friends, over 30 friends, allegedly, on Facebook. And I think that's fantastic. I also noted that the last show I did, Pedophiles and Hoaxes, it was Hoaxes and Pedophiles, I forget what it's called, the listenership doubled in the last couple of hours. Which is great. That's one of the reasons I decided to do this today, to get more listeners. But I found it really amazing that so many people accepted my friend request. So many people that I have never met before, I have never heard of. And good for you. I mean, it's nice to know that in this incredibly cynical, sad little world that we live in, and Lord knows I am one of its biggest proponents of sad and cynical, that there's still people out there that are still open enough to the outside world that they will accept a friend request on Facebook. And yeah, sure, I've never met you, I've never heard of you, I have no idea what you're about, and I'm not even really sure which one of my friends you know in some way or another. But I would accept your friend request. I mean, I used to be one of those guys that, I would get like the occasional friend request from somebody I've never heard of, and I would just deny it. I kept thinking to myself, how is this guy going to scam me out of something? Is this woman a hooker? I mean, who would want to be friends with me exactly? Without even knowing me. I mean, shit, people that know me and don't want to be friends with me all the time, and I understand that. If you've ever met me, you'd know why. But it turns out that people are a lot more open and friendly than I originally was thinking. Some people might call it gullible. I'm not. I'm calling it friendly and social. And it's a nice thing. You know what? It means more people that I can reach out to with my voice, with my message. Not that I have a message, but I like to talk a lot. Do you ever get that? That friendship request, and you're just like, fuck you, I don't know you. I mean, that's typically what I did. It's like, fuck you, I don't know you. And it made sense to me in a lot of ways, because most of us do not know our Facebook friends. Most of us have never heard our Facebook friends' voices. So it seems a little bizarre to me to accept friendship requests for somebody who really just is a stranger. They know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that you used to know. But you know what? I am in this to provide entertainment to the masses. You may not deem it entertainment, but at least you're listening. And I figured it's time to, spread a wider net. Because there might be people out there, people I've never met, that might be interested in all the bullshit I have to spew. And I have a lot of bullshit to spew. So for those of you who are new to the show, Joe the Shirt's off the cuff, and are my brand new Facebook friends, welcome, thank you. I look forward to hearing from you. Please feel free to write on my page whatever you want, even if it's just telling me to go fuck myself. I've had people do that. Or, just let me know what your interests are. I mean, you guys, those of you who are saying, I'm happy to bring your topics to the forefront here. I'm happy to discuss the things that you're interested in. It doesn't always have to be what I'm interested in, because a lot of times I'm not interested in anything, But, if you guys want to just write me, email me, post on Facebook, send me a private message, send me a letter, snail mail, anybody, go ahead. You can send me stuff, and I'll be happy to read it and talk about it, and, talk about it after I research it a little bit. There's a lot out there. I'm going to do a little tease here, and that is the second part of today's show, is the genetics of food. This is something that came to my attention a long time ago, but was also brought up just the other day. My friend Vicki Wagner had posted on her Facebook page that she had watched a particular documentary. I think it was called Forks Over Knives, and their approach to healthy eating, and eating not just for enjoyment or survival, but for overall health. I jokingly wrote back to her that, you know what, I'm on top of the food chain, I'm going to eat whatever the fuck it is I want, okay? And I made sure to point out that what I was saying was something I was saying specifically from my point of view. Okay, I don't like organic food. I don't think it tastes as good, okay, as all the great processed shit. Not even vegetables. I go to the store and they have zucchini and they have organic zucchini. Organic zucchini can go fuck itself. I'm not eating it. I've tried it. It tastes like dirt. And maybe that's because, that's all I grew up eating. But for about 6 months of my life, I did eat pretty much nothing but organic food. And you know what? For 6 months of my life, my taste buds wanted to commit suicide. So organic food is not for me. Super duper healthy living is not for me. As I wrote to Vicky, I'd rather live to 70 with a smile on my face than live to 100 without enjoying my fucking food. And that's what I'm going to go with. A couple of her friends were very, very critical of me. They didn't see the jokiness factor that I was trying to put in there, and criticized me for, forming an opinion on something that I haven't watched, the documentary in question, Forks Over Knives. And I made it clear to them that, at no point would I tell anybody that what's right for me is right for everybody else. And Vicky has some health issues that she's addressing, and as I told Vicky and her friends, if it works for you, if it makes you feel better and live your life better, if it helps out with your issues, then great, good for you. I'd recommend that to anybody. Do what works for you, do what helps you out. If it improves your health, then do it. And especially if that's your goal. Me, my plan is to get to hell the way I want to get there. But that's me, like I said. And I also let them know that I have no interest in watching this fucking documentary. I don't care. All right? And yes, I can form an opinion on something I've never watched. You know how I know this? Well, I've never watched a snuff film either, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't enjoy that either. That's what I'm saying. I probably would not enjoy a snuff film. You don't have to try something to know that you don't like it. I've never taken a dick in my ass. Quite sure I'm not going to like it. Thus, I'm not going to try it. And you know what? That is an opinion that most women have expressed. It's like, hey, I've never taken a dick in my ass, Joe. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like it. So no, you can't go there. Bitches. Now, I'm going to take a little break here, and we're going to keep talking about the genetics of food, and hopefully my new Facebook friends will continue to listen. In case you're wondering whose music that was at the start of the show, that was, the song was called Tina Gray by the band A New Ascension, and that they are providing the music today. And here's another one of their songs. This one's called Another Galileo by A New Ascension. Joe the Shirts Off the Cuff. As I said before, I'm welcoming all my new Facebook friends to the show. I am Joe the Shirt. This is my show, Off the Cuff. I do it whenever it strikes my fancy. I, as always, promise to try to do it more consistently. Back off already! Anyway, what we're talking today about is the genetics of food, which is a very, very popular topic these days to nerds. I am a nerd, as I've said many times before, not a true nerd because I can get pussy. And yes, that is the distinction between nerd and true nerd, all right? One of the things that scientists have been telling us recently is that who you are genetically is, of course, we all know, is passed on from your parents, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents, and, you know, it all boils down to make the person that you are today. But just recently, in the last few years, scientists have discovered that what you ingest into your body actually changes your genetic structure. Your DNA, your RNA actually changes, it evolves, it adapts, it mutates even, depending on what it is you are eating or drinking. You've all heard the stories of the, you know, the old like Dalai Lama kind of guy where all he ever did was eat vegetables and yogurt and whey and whatever the fuck and nothing but natural foods all of his entire life. And then he goes into the city and eats their food, which is rich and it's delicious and it's fatty and it's meaty, it's juicy, and he's like dead in like a week. Well, it's an old joke, it's an old story, it's an old whatever, but the moral behind it, of course, being, you know, is to, you know, eat only natural good food for you and you'll live forever. It's like, well, no, that's not the actual true moral of the story. Well, that's the moral of the story, but it's not the truth. The truth is that we have evolved through the millennia in accordance with what's around us to eat. Scientists have found now that human beings are genetically, I won't say programmed, but let's go with that. It's like we're genetically programmed to want to eat beef, chicken, and pork. Genetically, it's in our DNA. It's a part of us. We've learned to adapt, to like it, to want it, to survive because of it. When it comes to, say, extinction in you know, the world of nature, one of the biggest theories that scientists have as to why the dinosaurs are no longer around is because the food that they were accustomed to eating disappeared, and they were not able to adapt to the food that was available. Their stomachs could not handle it. They say that one of the reasons that you don't see brontosauruses anymore, or triceratops, or any of the other big gigantic herbivores is because during the times that they were alive, they were eating ferns. Ferns were the dominant plant for herbivores to be eating. The ferns started to die out. We don't know why exactly, but the climate's changed, the weather changed, everything changed, and ferns were not able to survive in the numbers that they had been up until that time. Then came grass. Grass, believe it or not, is actually a relatively new form of plant and new form of food for modern herbivores. Dinosaurs were not able to consume the grass because it was too small for them. They were not able to process the grass because their stomachs were just not built for it, and they were not able to consume enough grass to actually feed them. So they died out. That's one of the theories they have for why certain dinosaurs died out, because their food source changed. And when the herbivores started to die off, the carnivores started to die off because, hey, there's nothing for you to fucking eat around here. When was the last time I killed a brontosaurus? Fuck! So there you go. One of the pieces of proof when it comes to this is actually in the most widely bred animal on the planet, which is Canis domesticus, also known as the dog. The dog is the most diversified animal in the world after human beings. Only human beings are more diversified in how many types of human beings there are. Let's call them breeds. Let's not call it a race. Breeds of humans And what it is that they eat. Dogs, second on that list. One of the reasons that dogs, scientists believe, is that they were able to become dogs, because they do believe that all dogs originate from wolves. Now, if you've ever seen a wolf and a dog, the behaviors are incredibly different. Wolves are much more independent, not prone to barking as adults, and not dependent on human beings for help. They've done experiments where they put a piece of food in a cage, and there's a little trick that the animal needs to learn to get the food. Wolves will continue to attack and try to figure out how it works, whereas a dog is more likely to, after a few minutes, look to the human being and say, hey, can you give me a hand here? Can you fix this? Can you get me the fucking treat already? So dogs and wolves, while genetically very, very similar, are not the exact same animal anymore. And part of the reason for this, scientists found, is that dogs have developed the ability to digest carbohydrates. That's right. That's what happened, because what happened was wolves would hang around human encampments, farms, villages, what have you, and they would go around, sometimes, looking to get a scrap of meat from someplace, little bit of food, or maybe just like nab a baby. If you can nab a baby, why not? But other wolves learned to eat the garbage, which would contain vegetables, wheat, grains, breads, sugars, and they learned over time to be able to eat this and digest it. And when it comes to animals, when it comes to wolves and dogs, most digestion occurs in the intestines, not the stomach, which is why wolves are able to eat large amounts of food in one sitting, up to 40 pounds of meat, and then just hold on to that for the next several days, and they're fine. Same thing with dogs. A dog can do this if he really wants to. But dogs develop the ability to process carbohydrates, which wolves do not have that ability. They still need carbohydrates in their diets, which is why when wolves, say, bring down a deer, kill the deer, one of the first things that a wolf will do is eat the deer's stomach, the content of the deer's stomach. Because the deer will have eaten a lot of vegetable matter, and its body was already in the process of digesting it. So wolves will eat the contents of the stomach to get their carbs, to get their vegetables that's already pre-digested for them, so their bodies can process it. Whereas dogs not have the ability to process carbohydrates, vegetables, grains, and use the sugar and use the sugars to convert that to energy. Wolves are not able to do this on the same level, which is why when you buy dog food, only a relatively small percentage of it is protein. For most dry dog food that you buy, 20 to 30% protein and 40 to 50% carbs. Giving a dog an all-meat diet actually tends to lead to kidney and liver failure. Who knew? Giving your dog nothing but meat will most likely kill him. And you'll also have a dog with a lot of diarrhea. And in a lot of ways, this is what's happened with human beings. We have evolved to eat certain foods. I mean, by definition, we are omnivores, like dogs, like pigs, like chimps even. We're omnivores. We're opportunistic eaters. We find something, we eat it. That's a survival technique that we as human beings have picked up. Our bodies have developed in a way so that we can adapt. But once we learned the techniques of farming and growing and cooking, another important distinction between what dogs eat and what wolves eat is cooking, processing food. We are genetically designed to eat these kinds of foods, and this goes well beyond just simply food. Alcohol even will influence genetics. Now, you've all heard of the idea that it's like, I come from a family of alcoholics, so I'm predisposed to be an alcoholic. And that's true to a point. Here's an example for you. If your father's a heavy drinker, and your mother is a heavy drinker, but let's say she gives up drinking while she's pregnant with you, the genes for you to become an alcoholic are definitely in there. Now, what happens if, say, your father and mother get together and say, you know what, let's have kids, but why don't we not drink? Okay, dad stops drinking. He quits drinking for a year. Okay? Now his genetics are not as predisposed. You wait a year, his body actually begins to change, and so does the mother's body begin to change, so that they are not as predisposed to be alcoholics. They have you, the odds of you becoming an alcoholic are significantly less. Take another example. So you have a man and woman, neither of them drink. Okay, neither of them drink at all, and their parents didn't drink, and their parents didn't drink. But just for a few months before your mother gets pregnant with you, your dad becomes a boozer. Maybe he lost his job, so he starts pounding Jack Daniels every fucking day of his life. And the night he's having sex with your mom, he is wrecked off his ass with a bunch of good old-fashioned whiskey breath, but no whiskey dick. And he's pumping and humping your mom and gets her pregnant, and he's been now drinking for months. Well, guess what? His genetics have changed, and he's passing on those genetics to you. Now, that is not to say that you will automatically become an alcoholic once you start drinking. Lots of people have alcoholic parents and don't drink at all. One of my best friends in life, my buddy Tone, his parents, major league boozers. He's never touched a drop in his life, as far as I know. And that's him. But then again, he was also afraid that if he did, he would become an alcoholic. So he didn't risk it. And that wasn't sound in the background was my dog drinking water. But yeah, I don't think there's any right or wrong way to decide how to live your life. It's really up to you, when it comes to food. That's what I was trying to explain to my friend Vicky and her very judgmental friends. It's like, you know what, you want to spend the rest of your life on bean sprouts and tofu and all that shit, go ahead, eat all the rabbit food you want. I don't care. And I have no interest in watching your fucking video either. Top of the food chain. I'm living like that, And we all know at least one person that's like in their 80s or 90s. All they ever did was drink and smoke and eat bacon with every fucking meal, and they live to be in their fucking 90s, while good old Jim Fix dies of a massive heart attack while he was jogging. So there's no hard and fast rules. Obviously, yes, eat less fat, eat more vegetables, don't eat as much red meat, don't eat as much fat, exercise more often, try to get a good night's sleep. These are your basics. Alright, go with it, that's fine. But every once in a while, I'm going to kick back, have a couple of shots, have some beer, and have myself a fucking cheeseburger. Why? Because I'm on top of the food chain. And I'm also Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff. Welcome again, new Facebook friends. And listen in. Maybe I'll be doing another show later. And here's one last song for you by A New Ascension. It's called Consider This. Later.